Finally, we have now arrived at the latest patch, which is 3.6. And of course, one of the things we are most waiting for is the distribution of free characters, which many players doubted at that time. Yep, who else if not Dan Heng? This character is phenomenal. While there are so many players who need very reliable sustain, it turns out that hoyoverse shares this character for free. And it seems incomplete, isn't it, if we don't talk about the best teammates for this character. Yep, just like before, I've made the right tier list for this character, which you guys must be excited to watch. So, without further ado, I'm hoyoverse and let's get right into the video. Let's do this. Do you have a character or weapon in the game that you really want but you don't have enough stellar jades? Here's a smarter way to recharge your favorite games like Genshin Impact and honkaistarrail. Look no further than Lootbar. Lootbar is the most reliable top-up platform. It saves up to 23% for all orders compared with the official channel, and it provides an 80% off for your first purchase. It's 100% safe as you will only be using your UID. We will buy pack for 3000 stellar jades for $42, which otherwise would have costed $50. Totally saving $7.5. We received the crystals we purchased in the less than 3 minutes. All recharges will be done through the official channel with miHoyo, which allows you to enjoy all top-up offers. Ready to level up your gaming experience? Check the link in the description to get the amazing discount. Before getting into the video, I want to give a disclaimer first. For the tier list that I made in this video, it's purely a ranking that I made personally about the value of the combination between Dan Heng and the characters in this tier list. So please don't take it personally. So far, even though Dan Heng is a very universal sustain, but of course there are some characters that I don't think can fully benefit from the presence of this character in the team. Some of them are characters that have scaling to maximum HP, or characters that have roles that function to give debuffs to enemies, such as Bella and Jiaochu. Even though Dan Heng can still be paired with them, both Dan Heng and the characters in this tier don't get any benefit at all. So it's better to choose another sustain that is more suitable. Okay, next we will move on to tier D. In tier D, the characters in this list are characters who receive benefits from Dan Heng, but it can be said that the benefits are quite minimal. So there are still some other characters that I think can be better than Dan Heng. Some of the characters include Firefly and Rappa. These two characters actually benefit from the presence of Dan Heng, especially in his skill that can provide bondmate status that can increase attack. Of course, attack stats are useful for both of them, but I think they need other sustain that has more break effect to be able to deal more damage. So obviously for the condition of the two of them, Lingsha can give a much better fit. Oh yeah, besides the two of them, I also put some DOT characters here. In this tier, there are Serval, Hook, Sampo, Luca, and also Guinevere. This character will also benefit from the buff from Dan Heng, but since they are a 4-star character, which will be a sub DPS, they get the last priority to get buffs from Dan Heng. And finally we get to the next tier, which is tier C. In this tier, the characters in it will get quite good benefits from Dan Heng. In addition to getting attack increase buffs, they are also able to attack with a very high frequency. With the high frequency of attacks of characters who have bondmate, Dan Heng will also get a lot of energy. So this will benefit both characters. Some examples include Scylla, Clara, and also Dr. Ratio. The three of them are characters who can attack with high frequency. That's because Scylla can get an extra turn when she manages to defeat enemies using her basic attack, skill, or ultimate. Dan Heng can receive a lot of energy that can be faster to trigger ultimate. As for Clara, this character is a character who will attack with the counter method if she is attacked first by the enemy, making this character have a high number of attacks each turn. Then what about Dr. Ratio? Dr. Ratio doesn't have the high speed of Scylla or counter mechanics like Clara, but he does have a follow-up attack mechanism that will continue to be triggered if the enemy has a large number of debuffs, making this character also quite ideal paired with Dan Heng. Now we are talking about tier B. In tier B are the characters who get maximum benefits from Dan Heng, But if we talk about performance, characters in this tier still have performance that is quite similar to other best sustains that exist today. Some of the characters that I deliberately put in this tier include Yunli, Dan Heng, Boothill, and Robert. Let's try to discuss a little here. As we know, Yunli is a character that has a similar mechanism to Clara that I deliberately put in the previous tier. But the difference between Clara and Yunli is in the number of counter frequencies and the form of damage she does. Where the counter mechanism is clear, normally it can only attack back to one enemy, while Yunli can attack back to 3 different enemies. This means that the increase in attack given by Dan Heng will have a greater impact. On the other hand, Dan Heng Il is a character who wastes skill points and needs ultimate to be able to give 2 Squama Sacrosancta. Indeed, we can use Huohuo who can provide additional energy to speed up Dan Heng Il using his ultimate. But unfortunately, Huohuo is not a positive SP character like Dan Heng who doesn't even need to use skill points at all. In fact, if you have Dan Heng with Idle 1, you can get an additional 1 skill point every time Dan Heng triggers his ultimate, which makes this character a good sustain option for Dan Heng Il. And the last one is Robin. Yep, this character is a character that provides a good combination with Dan Heng. Because Dan Heng has scaling to attack, all of his kits will get an additional boost with the help of a buff from Robin, who is able to increase the attack of the entire team. Of course, with Robin, Dan Heng's attacks also experience increase in damage output. Okay, now we are going to move on to tier 8, where in this tier are characters that are fairly decent and quite recommended to be paired with. First, there is the Herta. Although Herta is not a hyper carry character, her team is still centered on the damage she deals, while the sub DPS in the team only helps to gather energy for her. Dan Heng's position here is as one of the characters who also gives Herta an attack increase buff and more or less helps provide additional energy through attacks from the Soul Dragon. Aside from Herta, Archer can also be a good hyper carry if paired with Dan Heng, because as I mentioned before, Dan Heng is a character who can generate skill points easily. Plus, if you can reach his Idle 1, then this really benefits Archer who really needs a lot of skill points to be able to give additional attacks. On the other hand, because Archer have a very high attack frequency, Dan Heng's ultimate is quickly triggered, which makes his kit maximum. One more character that I need to mention in this tier is Fei Xiao. Obviously, with Dan Heng's presence made Fei Xiao able to become much better. The increase in attack and also Dan Heng's kit that is able to provide follow-up attack makes Fei Xiao's stack to increase quickly. Plus, if you have Dan Heng's Idol 2, which can increase the number of follow-up attacks through his ultimate, it will certainly have a very extraordinary impact on Fei Xiao, in giving her an extra stack to trigger her ultimate. Even without Idol 2, the number of Dan Heng's follow-up attacks is very limited, but is still very worth an option if you don't have Aventurine. Oh yeah, here I will also mention a little about the 3 DOT characters who are currently occupying the meta, namely Kafka, Black Swan, and also High Silence. These 3 characters are also very suitable to pair with Dan Heng, who needs a very big attack. Because in general, the DOT mechanic does require the character to have a very big attack. Well, with the high attack status, it's clear that the damage caused by Dan Heng will also have a significant impact. And finally, we come to the last segment of this video, which is the best character that I think can be paired with Dan Heng. For the first character, there's Sunday. Why is Dan Heng so good when paired with him? Yep, as you might expect, one of the skills from Sunday named Benison of Paper and Rights currently has a slight weakness, where the skill can provide maximum effect if the character receiving the buff is a character who has a summon. Well, with the presence of Dan Heng in your team, it automatically makes this buff maximum and can be applied to all existing characters. Then the next character is Finan. Well, before the presence of Dan Heng in this game, there wasn't much sustain that matched this character, because most of the time we would kick all of the characters in our team out of the fight, which made many players, including myself, forced to play sustainless team, or you could say not use sustain characters at all. Well, Dan Heng's presence will automatically make the composition of the Finan team will obviously change, with the presence of Dan Heng who can provide an attack increase buff, making Finan at least get additional attack even though Dan Heng is not on the field at the time Finan uses his ultimate. In addition, Soul Dragon will still provide additional shields even when the Finan uses his ultimate mode, making it feel safer when fighting all enemies on his own. In addition, since Finan has a very high attack, it makes follow-up attacks from Dan Heng maximum. Maybe here you are asking, which is better between using sustain or not in the Finan team? Well, I personally think the answer will depend on the situation you are facing. If you are facing enemies that feel very difficult and can deal high damage, then obviously you will be safer if you use Dan Heng. But not using sustain is also worth it, because obviously using 3 harmonies at once in the team will be able to maximize the kit, even though it's quite risky. And the last character in this video that we are going to discuss is Alexa. Yep, we discussed this character for the umpteenth time in my video, but honestly currently this character is one of the characters that I think gets very good benefits with the presence of Dan Heng. Alexa can deal a large number of attacks, especially if you have Seridra on your team who can duplicate Alexa's skill. With the high frequency of Alexa's attacks, it will certainly make Dan Heng's energy fill up very quickly. With energy that is changed very quickly, of course, he can trigger his ultimate and follow-up attacks more often, which means that he will have an impact on the damage output of Dan Heng itself. Interesting, isn't it? Okay guys, maybe that's all for this video. What do you think of Dan Heng? Are you prepared for the presence of this character on your account? Please type in the comments down below, and don't forget to check out my other videos because they are no less cool. Thanks for watching, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video.